Okay, hello again. So this video will be about the benefits of exploring a vegan diet. Even if we don't stay vegans at the end of this journey, it's still worth exploring, and we're going to see why right now. So four things I'm going to look at, four benefits. Number one, detox. Number two, more energy. Number three, better for the environment. Number four, better spiritual connection. Okay, so let's look at number one. This one is again a little bit technical, so bear with me, right? Detoxification of the body. So we already saw, right, that meat takes longer to digest. And because of that, it can begin to rot in the system, especially if the meat you bought is not that fresh, right? So this actually creates toxins in your body, right? And we know that meat can take up to 2 days to digest. So my advice, right? And actually the native peoples knew this also, right? The advice that is given if you want to eat meat, right, which is perfectly fine, right, is to have about 2 or 3 days between each meat meal, right? Meaty meal, right? So you want to eat meat maybe on Monday, but then you, in order to really allow your body to cleanse and to process, wait a couple days before you have another meat dish, right? That is if you want to, of course, maintain, right? If you want to keep your body clear of toxins, and if you want to keep the weight off, right, after we do this adventure together. So that would be, and native cultures understood this because they only ate meat for special occasions, and then they would have a long time to process it, and then they would eat it again, right? Another advice that can be given in order to avoid this rotting is to eat more simpler meats, right? If the meat is simple, if the animal is more simple, like fish versus beef, right, it gets processed faster, right? So you can actually, if you want to keep on eating meat, try to focus on more simple animals like eggs, right, or fish, because rather than beef or pork, which are more complex, more complicated to process, and therefore there's more danger that it will create toxins, a fish, shwhoop, it will go through much faster, right? Especially, and try to eat fresh meats, because if they're already a little bit bad, imagine how it's going to be, right? So that's the first thing, right? So meat takes longer to digest. Meat also contains naturally more toxins than vegetables. And let me explain why, right? This was not always the case, right? Back in the day when the meat lived in the forest and when it ate pure grass and drank pure water and had a happy life until the hunter came along, the meat was not bad. It was pretty fresh, first of all, eaten right away. And the meat itself was not really that toxic, right? Nowadays, however, with the way that meat is not only raised, but processed and killed, right? This is creating a lot of toxins, right? If you've watched any YouTube video on how meat is raised, you will know that it is raised in highly toxic environments, right? It's sitting in a stable, with no air, surrounded by other toxic animals, right? It's in a state of pain most of the time, which is creating stress, toxins in the animal's body. It is transported in very difficult conditions. It is killed in very cruel situations. So there is, right before death, there is all the toxins of the fear and the anxiety of the animal. So animals are, and also what they eat, right? We know from the time of the mad cow disease that one of the reasons there was this disease that broke out in the cows was that they would feed the cows meat instead of grass, right? So a lot of animals which are supposed to be eating, grass, or fish, which are supposed to be eating plankton, when you have a fish farm, they're actually being fed little bits of meat. So this is not a healthy diet for them. It's creating toxins in them, right? So because, right, the meat is raised and killed in such toxic conditions, nowadays the meat is much more toxic. So when you're ingesting the meat, it's not just the time it takes to process, it's already toxic, right, from the conditions. So the advice, right, that would be given if you want to continue to enjoy meat, right, after this program, is to make sure you are eating grass-fed meat, right? You can see in the supermarket the difference between normal meat, which is probably tortured to death before it arrived on the shelf, and grass-fed beef or free-range chicken, free range chicken eggs, right? These have been raised in much healthier environments. They've been fed healthy food. So they're for sure much less toxic, right, than the normal meat we would find on the shelf, right? Another tip would be to limit scavenger meats, right? So scavengers are animals which eat other animals. So obviously they're being fed the toxins of the other animals. So they're more toxic than non-scavenger meat, right? So for example, if you're eating pork, which is eating just anything, including dead animals, you will have the toxins of that kind of diet in the pork that you wouldn't have in a grass-fed cow, for instance, or chicken, right? So trying to limit scavenger meats like pork or like certain seafoods like shrimp, lobster, calamari, right? These are all scavenger meats that feed on other animals and therefore already have the toxins of that diet in their system. They're already more toxic than the actual meat, right? So I don't want to create an apocalyptic picture here, which is why I am saying, right, you can continue absolutely to eat meat, but be wise about your choices, right? Try to find healthy sources of meats, try to find simpler meats and non-scavenger meats, and then you can have, right, this wonderful varied diet, right? Finally, talking about fat, right? So animal fat is actually harder to process by the body than plant fat, right? So you've all heard about bad fats, good fats, that is to say saturated fats versus unsaturated fats. So plants have the kind of fat which is unsaturated, good fat, which just goes through your body and doesn't accumulate. So it's perfectly fine to eat an avocado, nuts, right? It will not make you fat because the body processes it easily, goes through. Animal fats on the contrary, like, eggs or cheese or milk or meat or anything animal, this type of fat is considered it's more difficult for the body to assimilate saturated fats. And so this type of fat ends up accumulating in the body, right? So if you really want to lose weight, it is really recommended. Stop all animal fats for a while, right? As we're doing here, so that you can really begin to detox, right? Okay. Benefit number 2, this will go a little faster, more energy. Obviously, since we know already that animal protein is harder to assimilate than plant protein, the body works harder at digesting your steak than it does at digesting your salad. So you're losing energy. This is why you feel so exhausted after a meal of, beef. You want to just sleep instead of, rather if you ate a salad, you'd want to go jogging, right? This is the reason. It's harder to assimilate. And also because it's slower to digest, it can clog up your system with toxins, and this will make you generally sluggish also. Benefit number 3, sorry. A vegan diet is better for the environment. We know this. The United Nations Environmental Program did a study in 2018 where they found that meat was the #1 problem environmentally. Why? Because meat and dairy production actually emits 14% of total greenhouse emissions. This is more than every single car, train, airplane, and boat. So, we keep on saying, don't fly, right? Don't drive. This is creating problems for the environment. Actually, meat is the #1 problem, right? The production of meat is creating so much greenhouse emissions, more than all of the transportation sector together. Another problem with the raising of meat is the clearing of land to feed livestock, and this is leading to deforestation. We know this is happening in the Amazon, especially, which is highly problematic. So this also is an issue, right? So finally, last benefit, a deeper spiritual connection is possible when you become a vegan. Why? Because you've cleared your body of toxins, right? Your energy is clearer, your body is more transparent, and therefore you're more able to connect, right? To your own spirit, right? Your own spirit was buried, or your soul was buried under a mountain of toxins, right? The vegan diet, because of its powerful detoxifying effect actually helps you finally gain access, right, to your own spirit, to your own soul. And this has been one of the main benefits for me, right? Being able to feel my spirit, my soul, being able to feel joyful again, right? In a way that I wasn't when I was just, carrying so many toxins around. Okay, so let's get started. I will be sending you a daily email. I will be sending you the meal plan, the shopping list, and we'll take it from there. And when we're done, I will give you a last video, which is where to take it from here. Enjoy. I hope you enjoy this challenge, and I will see you in the last video.